Welcome to the Nourish and Restore podcast with me, Nina, and my awesome friend, Nicole, where we bring all things nourishing and restorative to you, your body, mind, and soul. A chance for you to enjoy simple tools to help you live a happier, healthier, and more peaceful life. Join us now as we move into conversation.
Hi there, Nina. How are you doing today?
Hi, Nicole. All good this side, thank you. Fired up and ready to go. So looking forward to catching up with you and sharing our topic for the month. Hey.
Absolutely. And as you just mentioned it already, it's fire. And what an exciting theme. I really enjoy the fire energy so much. As it really gets us going, it just as it says, you know, the word itself, fire. I mean, what do you feel when you sit in front of the fire? When you think about fire, it's an energy that really gets you moving. So
Exactly.
let's hear a little bit from your side.
Cool. Yes. Yeah. I'll take like a little bit of an Ayurvedic look at it, and I think you just butt in wherever you feel that you can add
Sure,
in
we're good with
a
that.
little bit more. So pretty much, like you were saying, you know, if you think of a fire, the fire energy, it is hot, it is sharp, it's intense, it's quite penetrating, but also there's a sense of like lightness to it. So when we think of like fire being hot, it burns, and it can help us kind of like burn through all our bad habits, or the bad habits that we've gained over the years of maybe, you know, living a run-of-the-mill life or feeling a little uninspired. And this lovely fire element can just help to ignite like a little bit of life and heat into what we need to be doing. So when we look at the fire element in kind of yoga and energy, you know, it's directly related to our solar plexus, our center of personal power, our sense of inner strength, and our sense of purpose. And we need this fire element to help kind of build and fire up our confidence and to kind of ignite us and to move us forward. Fire is also really transformational. So if you think of something being cooked on the stove, it takes something from one state to another in not a very long time, in quite a short space of time. So that quality of being transformational is definitely there with a fire element. If we think of fire, it's also quite sharp, and the sharpness comes or also can relate quite nicely to the sense of sight. So when we have clear vision or clear sight, it's very kind of directional or one pointed like an arrow. And this sharpness is a big quality of kind of the Pitta dosha, which is directly also related to that solar plexus, the fire element. And the kind of another kind of topic I'm going to just touch on before I hand over the mic to you is that fire is really intense. So it's not gentle or soft like water that we were chatting about last month, you know, where water just gently works away at an issue. Fire pretty much takes an issue on head on, and it transforms whatever needs transforming really quick and powerfully. And in life, we need both. We need the gentleness of the water elements. Sometimes we need something that's more gentle, more nurturing, softer and slower. And sometimes we do need that powerful, intense transformation to come into play. So, for example, if you think about it, you know, most of us when we were at school or varsity, we had deadlines, and I know we definitely all burnt the candle at both ends, and we did the, being up
Absolutely.
at midnight and, writing out essays and trying to get it done before the morning.
Drinking lots of
And
Red Bull to keep us awake.
exactly. Just adding fuel to the fire to
Exactly.
keep us going. And kind of the Peter time of day, the fire time of day is around noon. So kind of like between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. And this is when our digestion is the strongest. This is when we have the most bile in our system, and our body is able to digest and break down whatever we've taken on. And it's easy to see that because that's when the sun is at its peak. And this is why in Ayurveda, we always talk about having our main meal at lunch so that it gives the body a chance to break down and digest what has been taken in. But then again, also like from 10 p.m. till 2 a.m. is another Pitta time. But this is when you want your body to be able to kind of digest things emotionally, the experiences of the day. But when we get into that, I mean, we can also use that time to, stay up at night. And if we do it once in a while for a wedding here and there or getting a project done, that's absolutely fine. But the problem is when we stay up past 10 p.m. every night and we use this Pitta energy to, get work done, we never actually give our body a chance to renew and to process and to digest our emotions, our experiences of the day. So I thought I would just stop there for now and let you maybe comment on a few things and share with us as well, Nicole.
Yeah, that's so interesting when you said, reminded me of the Pitta time, 10 to 2 a.m. I mean, gosh, when we were teenagers, we used to sleep till like 10 and 11, and then we used to go out and have a jaw. But it's also so interesting because often I find when you are, kind of busy during the day and you hit this phase where you're really tired, and then all of a sudden after 9, 10, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so awake now and my creativity is flowing.
Mm-hmm.
To absolutely use that time, to then get a head start, because that's exactly what you need. You need that oomph, that fire to just keep you going. Exactly. And as you mentioned, the fire energy is the seat of our soul, which is our solar plexus, our inner power, that gut feeling, where you just know that something isn't right or something is right. That belief and that self-respect for yourself and the world around you. And there's such a beautiful affirmation that I like to use for the solar plexus, which is, I trust that I am balanced in every single way.
Oh,
And
that's lovely.
isn't it
I
just? I
trust
mean,
that I am balanced in every single way. I love it.
absolutely. And just by you having now repeated it, it just sends like that energy through my body. It really works phenomenally. Also, what I like to discuss when we are talking about elements and chakras, I like to let our listeners know that these elements, you can have an over energy in them and you have an under energy in them. And
Mm.
for the fire element, the over energy is perfectionism, being a workaholic, being super
Tick,
stubborn,
tick, tick.
and being judgmental.
Tick, tick,
um,
tick, tick,
tick,
tick.
tick, tick, tick. And when you feel that you have all of these boxes ticked, then, then one can kind of see, okay, I'm a little bit too much in the fire element, a little bit too much in the pitta, where and how can I bring myself down again? How can I kind of just control that fire? You don't want a raging fire going through the forest because it's devastating, as we
Exactly.
know. Although after that devastation, what happens? It brings new life,
New growth.
um,
Yeah.
Absolutely. So it doesn't really, also what I want our listeners to know is that there's nothing that's wrong and there's nothing that's right. There's no wrong and right. There's only the right thing for you in that moment. So if you had to go ahead and be that raging fire and burn everything in your road, yes, okay, there'll be consequences, but at the end of the day, you will still learn from them. So
Definitely.
everything has a reason. So balancing out these over energized aspects by doing the yoga, which we will be sharing with you this month, by doing the breath work. You can also do things like using essential oils. Chamomile is great, calming, clary sage and bergamot. And then you can also drink the most delicious indigenous teas. In Cape Town, we have the Cape Sugar Bush tea and the Valerian tea. I think you can get all over the world. So these are really nice little remedies that you can take. And then just discussing the under-energized aspect of the fire element in the solar plexus are things like feeling a little bit depression, feeling a little confused, not knowing which direction to take or what to choose, feeling resentful, lack of confidence, and weak-willed. So already just mentioning all of those, you can kind of feel, wow, those feel heavy, and you can just imagine by bringing a little bit of fire into that, how you would be able to fire that up and move through those elements.
Yeah.
So
and
yeah,
the interesting thing is like what you were saying about those qualities, that there's like a heaviness, a downward drawing to them, and fire is light. So as soon as you kind of like ignite that little bit of a spark underneath that sense of depression or that sense of lack of confidence, is it's that heaviness, that dullness has started to lift, and it brings you out of that space into a more neutral space.
Absolutely.
And also what I thought I would share is that, we're not usually one or the other. We often oscillate between the two. We sometimes have a tendency to be more one way, but it doesn't mean just because you're a very maybe critical or fiery person, it doesn't mean that you don't ever sink down into depression or feeling that weightedness. So
Absolutely.
we definitely oscillate, between the two, sometimes within the space of a day, sometimes within the space of an hour or a minute, depending who else is in your life or your day. It might just be a trigger for you. So yes.
I mean, what goes up must come down, and what goes down must come up. So yes, absolutely. And the more we can be aware of these aspects, the more we can be aware of our behavior, the more we can bring ourselves back into balance again. I mean, we're human, of course. When something triggers us, we are going to react. But the more we can see that reaction or the trigger as a lesson, the more and the easier we can move through it.
Exactly. And that we don't do that kind of, what's that Einstein saying, you keep hitting your head against the same wall or something like that. So when you can see that something's not working, knowing how to shift and to adjust and adapt. And if you're always shouting at your kid and flipping out, just realizing, okay, well, this is not getting the result that I want. Is there another way that I can move towards getting what I want? Or if it's in business, or if it's in your own personal life, or with whatever it is, just looking at, okay, if this way isn't working, what are my other options? Am I too fiery? Am I being a bit more in that victim mode where I'm not giving myself the personal power of being in my strength and in who I am? So just realizing and then calling yourself out in a nice way and knowing, kind of, and thinking, well, what are my other options?
Being innovative, seeing how best you can move forward in the highest good of everybody involved, and I feel also what's coming through for me now is that aspect of selfishness. Often we do things that are good for us, but in the long run not good for everybody around us. So really bringing that energy inside, really bringing that energy into your fire element, and finding that inner power, that inner responsibility to be able to design and decide on the life that you want to live, the person that you want to be, and moving forward accordingly,
And
I think
I love that you're saying, where you're saying, who is it, or what is the person that you want to be? So there's like a goal, there's like, someone or something that you're wanting to attain to. It's not that far away from you that you can't see it, you can't visualize it, that person with a better habit, or that person that is this way or that way. And kind of, what is the straight line towards that goal? What is the easiest straight line of getting there? And that is that like fire element, where it's like one pointed, it's directional. If you think of like the flame of a candle, it's always moving upwards. It's like an arrow moving upwards. And that's kind of like that directional movement that you want to get to, like, okay, how can I most easily become that better person, that better version of me?
Absolutely. And what I find so important with that is journaling. So you have your goal and you journal, how do I get to that goal? And what is the most appropriate way of getting there for the highest good of all involved? And it's so interesting because the clear vision that I have now is that everything that's not on that path will burn away. And that for me is the beauty about the fire element.
Yeah. It kind of just, it creates that kind of space where everything that is not important, everything that is, I can't think of the word now, but that is just kind of on the outskirts, disappears. It doesn't take up brain power. It doesn't take up energy. It doesn't grab onto emotions. It just kind of falls away by the wayside, burns
Absolutely.
off. It's like the ash that you just kind of dust out the way and you continue going forward.
Absolutely. One thing that I would still like to add is that for this element to really benefit you in the most appropriate way is to really ensure that you are able to ground and center yourself, to ground yourself, to move from that grounded, centered space, because that is a clear vision. The minute we are scattered and all over the place and make decisions, rash decisions, often these are not long lasting, and also often these are not for the highest good of ourselves. So really to make sure that you're grounded, that you're centered, and that you're moving forward into that clear vision with your solar plexus and moving into your heart space there already as well.
Exactly. Because the thing is, the fire element, it's so light and so mobile in a sense. So if you don't have that solid kind of foundation and what it is you desire, where you are, then you can very easily be swayed off with the air element, like a raging wildfire. If the air element comes in too quick and you don't have that firm grounding, it'll just go and burn out everything that is around you. So yes, having that firmness, that groundedness, that solidity, and then from there, shine your light into what it is that is really, really important to you.
Good, absolutely. And I actually wanted to correct myself. I think in the beginning I said to balance the over-energized to do the yoga classes for the month ahead. That will just shoot you straight through the fire. So please don't take that advice, but rather go swim in the ocean, go stand under a cold shower, and rather do the exercises of the month before the water element. That will gently bring you back into balance. But
exactly.
I'm all fired up now, all ready to go. And anything else that you wanted to add before we close?
I love it. No, I like that, like being fired up. What I just thought I would add in is, when we go to a yoga class, or, when we're doing something yoga related, the teacher can't take everyone's situation into account, when a teacher's teaching. So for example, if you are feeling very fired up, and you've got a lot of that energy, when you go and do a yoga practice, try and allow your practice to be cooling. So try and allow yourself to not push into any postures. Feel that you can literally pull back 50%. So when you're doing a forward bend, instead of like really going for it, kind of say to yourself, okay, I'm only going to do that to 50% of my capacity. I'm going to breathe really, really slowly. I'm going to maybe take an extra breath or two in a posture, and try and slow down the mind and the body as well. And just one or two of those little adaptations or awarenesses can change your whole yoga practice. So you can still do a normal yoga practice, but you just have to change the way you're approaching the practice on any kind of given day or in a group class. So I thought I'd just add that in. And otherwise, I can't really think of anything else. I think we've done a good job of kind of introducing the fire element for our month this month. And I think it's going to be like a super fun one, to be honest.
Absolutely. And before we close, I just wanted to tap on what you just said there with only going 50%, because that in itself is such a super practice of self-control and being able to set boundaries for yourself. Like I mentioned earlier on with the fire, you can't have a raging fire going through the forest. So containing that fire is that in itself is a super duper practice. So yes, ending off this fiery conversation.
I love it. That's why I'm so in this fire element at the moment with all the work that I'm doing. I'm just like in this like go mode. I know I need to kind of pull back a little. But it is such a fun element and such a fun kind of sensation to have. And it's very, very inspiring and uplifting. So yeah, 100%.
Awesome. So thanks again to all our listeners for being here with us and sharing in on the fun. And I hope you're learning a little bit on the way too. So yeah.
Cool. And we'll be catching you next week again.
Absolutely. Thanks to everyone. Namaste.
Have a nourishing day. This is Nina
and Nicole sending you a big thank you for listening to the Nourish and Restore podcast.
This is our podcast for health and wellness workers and learners out there, a resource for you to nourish your body, mind, and soul, and to restore yourself to your natural state of being.
Simple ways to live healthier, happier, and at ease.
For more information on working with me, Nina Sachs, visit www.saacks.com.
And to work with me, Nicole, visit www.lov-me.com.
To find out more about Nourish and Restore, visit our website or Facebook page, nourishandrestore.yoga.
Links will be in the show notes.
We look forward to catching up with you next week.
Namaste and have a nourishing day.